Hey, Bobby Manning here. Welcome to the Garden Report. Back with Josue Pavon. We'll do it ourselves this time. And
Shout out to KO.
appreciate Kevin O'Connor there on the recap. Go check that out. Celtics All Access if you haven't seen it. We talked about this 104-94 loss to the Golden State Warriors here that put them down 3-2 in this series. Fourth quarter, pretty epic collapse there for the second game in a row. They come out and score, I believe it was 5 points in the first 6 minutes of this quarter. Warriors roll on a 17-4 push. And right from that Jordan Poole bucket to end the third, just kind of steamrolled the Celtics there, and some visuals that weren't encouraging. Settling for jumpers, of course, the first one, but the second one being Draymond Green, after a big stop, following Jayson Tatum in the timeout huddle, and sort of giving it to him. I guess Marcu Smart contested him in there, and they got him out of there, and there wasn't really a scrum or anything like that, but Tatum himself didn't have much of an answer for it, and the Celtics as a team, you would have thought like a huge fight would have broken out there, but They just sort of let it roll off their shoulders, just like they did this game.
Which is good. You wanted them to let it roll off their shoulders and focus, but they didn't. That didn't change their play. You know, I feel like the Warriors, credit to Draymond Green, he saw a moment there to just sort of rub it in his face, and I felt like that's exactly what he did. And I felt like guys like that who are who they are, they're not going to change. A lot of talk's been made about that the last few games, especially from Celtics players themselves. They're like, look, that's who Draymond is. So he's going to be that guy. He's going to try to put his foot on their neck, so to speak. And that's exactly what the Warriors did collectively. And all of a sudden, they're only one game away from another championship, Bobby.
Another one, Marcu Smart complaining of the officiating. And Marcus, I'll give him credit. He was part of the solution midway through this game. Again, setting screen after screen, involving himself, getting on the ball, getting downhill, and giving the Celtics outlets at the basket. He had a big 7-point push there through the third quarter. But then in the fourth, he flops on the Klay three. And again, I've got to watch it closely, but it felt like a big flop there. And he doesn't really get back on defense on another play after not finishing inside. And Ime calls timeout after the flop play. Klay hits a three, makes it double digits again, and he has to go all the way over here, almost to half court, opposite of the scorer's table, to pull Smart away from the officiating. Grant's doing some barking, and another timeout early, the whole team was going after the officials, and Ime postgame just said we probably shouldn't do that. Celtics teed up twice, Ime once, Smart on that play. Shortly after that, they just can't stop.
Yeah, they got to stay out of that because it's a momentum shift. And even when the Warriors were on their comeback or at least trying to create separation, I just think that was the worst time to sort of get into that sort of back and forth with the official. You know, you're out of focus. The crowd is not making things any easier for you. And Ime talked about that. And look, we can say some of the blame is on Ime for getting into those type of shouting matches, but that's sort of been what they do all year. He tries to get his players away from that. But I feel like in this case, guys like Marcus Smart, guys like Grant Williams.
It's disappointing that it's Smart.
It is disappointing that it's Smart because I also feel like that's something that could also motivate Smart, but other times it goes the other way. And I think that was the case, here in San Francisco in Game 5, such a pivotal matchup for the Celtics team. And the one thing I think the Celtics continue to overlook, or at least they continue to do when they get into these patterns, is that the Warriors come up with defensive stops, but then they don't get back. And I feel like the Warriors get downhill so fast. And whether it's a high percentage look from someone like Andrew Wiggins beat him a lot, and then he's running back to play defense. I mean, these guys have to get back. They have to make sure that they're still focused. They're still dialed in to the identity that made this team who they are, that got them this far, essentially, and that's being that defensive juggernaut. We didn't see much of that in Game 5, and especially on the offensive end, because those two things go hand in hand for the Celtics team.
I just don't get it. I can't put myself in the shoes. You get 31 free throws in this game. Is there that much to complain about? You missed 10 in a 10-point loss.
You had a 15 free throw advantage. I mean, look, the Warriors got there not even, way less than 30 times, and then at the end of the day, they're making closer to 80% of their shots. That wasn't the same case for the Celtics.
Why are you even thinking about complaining? And again, it's hurt them so many times this year. You think of the ball control. We've talked about over and over again. We did in the last video. And we talk about the officiating and how that's impacted them. And I'm sure they've talked about it. And they just can't get it out of their system. We're going to ask this question, and it's almost a stupid question, but it's going to be the question if they lose this series. Are they ready for this? You almost lose to the Heat in Game 7 on 11-0 run. If they lose there, we're talking about all this stuff and how that impacted them in the Heat series. They certainly blew a fourth quarter lead in Game 5 to Milwaukee that very easily could have lost them that series in the second round. So he made it to the finals, but by the thinnest of margins. You catch a break round 2 with Middleton. You catch a break on that last shot by Jimmy Butler that probably wasn't a good decision by him. And you don't catch a break here. And what does it ultimately say about you? Do you look at this run any differently than you would if they lost in the second round just because of how continuously these problems have persisted throughout?
I just think it tells you that when the Celtics, and we talked about this heading into the playoffs, and it's been the story throughout, when it's down to the final couple of minutes, and if there's a 1-2 point margin, they just don't historically perform well in those situations. Sure, that's a good example, Bobby. Game 7, maybe Jimmy Butler makes that. They're not even here at this point, but they were able to fight those guys neck and neck all the way to the end. It wasn't pretty. It was Celtics fans were scared. They thought that the season was over. If Jimmy Butler makes that shot, it would have been over. So that's how small the margin of error is. And the Warriors know that. So the Celtics have to come out with a better effort, especially on their home floor. That this has to be one of those wins that you know going into, or at least midway through the fourth quarter, who should win the game. I just never got that sense in this one. There was never a sense of, oh, the Celtics should win this game. Even when they had their lead, even when they went on their run. You know, it was always a coin flip, and that's exactly how the Warriors like it, because they like the chances. They like their chances in that sort of matchup and that sort of situation against the Celtics team. Now we're going into Game 6. This Warriors team, you look at their best player, Steph Curry, who's been the MVP all series. He didn't make a single three-pointer in this gym. You think it's going to happen in Boston? No chance. So it's not going to get easier.
Nope. They're going to continue to put the pressure on. You know, the Warriors know what puts the Celtics in the worst positions. They want to ramp up the physicality, send them to the refs, send them back to the half-court line, slow down those sets, and make them look at their worst. And they're taking risks. They've made adjustments, and I feel like in many ways Steve Kerr has set a really good tone for the Warriors in this series with his game plan. So shout out to them. They'll be deserving if they go on to win this series. We'll talk about whether the Celtics still have a chance going back to Boston in our next video, brought to you by HelloFresh, HelloFresh.com/playoff16, 16 free meals, 3 free gifts, all to your door, on ice, freshest of meats. We've tried them all.
14, Bobby,
They're
14.
stuck.
Let's see if Celtics can get 15. All right,
Warriors are there. Warriors are there at 15. The trophy will be in Boston, and we'll discuss whether it's going to be handed out on Thursday. Josue Pavon, Manning, live from San Francisco.